Everybody, it's your girl, Dr. Rhonda M. Lawson, and we are back, and it is a new episode of Horizons with Meet the World Image Solutions, and we are in the Horizons Author Lounge. So I know we started the show a little differently today. I had to bring back my intro music. I felt like I was just jumping in there and surprising everybody, and like, oh, we're here. So I wanted to go ahead and start my intro music. But I'm really looking forward to tonight because we have two amazing women who are doing some great things in their communities and in the literary industry. And right now, I have on the screen with me Miss Julia James. And excuse me, wait a minute, that's a Master of Education, so it's not doctor quite yet, right?
Not quite yet.
Right. Am I speaking it into existence?
Well, if the Lord says the same, it will be.
Yeah. Amen. Well, that's what we're gonna do. So I
Yes.
would like to introduce to everybody Miss Julia James, and she is the author of the upcoming book Diary of a Curly-Haired Woman. But before we jump into the book, I would like her to explain who she is, introduce herself to all of you.
Hey, everyone. My name is Julia James. Nice to meet you all. Recently, McLeod, I will let you in on a secret. My pen name is Julia James, but I got married to an awesome, awesome man, and it has been a whirlwind. So, y'all newlyweds out there know what I'm talking about, or married people know what I'm talking about.
Congratulations.
Um, Thank you so much. I am an educator. I have been in the education system since 2008, and I am a mental health advocate. I'm also a writing instructor, and I currently serve in one of the ISDs here as an instructional coach, and while I do my businesses on the side, and a real advocate for domestic violence and families and children. um, and so this is what I have going on in my life, and this is what I've been working towards. And my book is a love letter poetically sung for this generation,
Mm,
because of several things that have happened in my life. And it is my intent and my wish to let everyone know that if I overcame, you can too.
amen.
So,
I can tell
yes,
you're a
ma'am.
writer just by the way you described that. That was very poetic the way you mentioned that. So
Thank you.
I guess the first question I want to ask, just based on the way you described your book, um, how intentional were you when you decided that you wanted to write this book?
I feel like my book was a mandate. And so I don't know if you guys are having anybody out there, any spiritual people. Well, we get every now and then, I think God drops little love notes to us along the way in our life. And it was hinted to me several times, you're going to write a book, you're going to write a book.
Mm,
Um, so for me, I will reveal part of the struggle in my life was that I was functionally illiterate all the way until I was in high school and in college. So
wow.
for me to hear the words, you're going to write a book, it was a big feat. I was like, me? Seriously? This is happening? Okay. All right. I trust you. Whatever you want, I'll do it. Um, but his letters and notes to me along the way were just more of encouragement and reminders. If I felt like I needed to go somewhere else or go on another path, he reminded me that this is what I was supposed to do. And so, another several times along the way in my life, people would say, okay, it's not time, be thinking about it, or they will say, this is what's going on, thus says God, now it's time. And so it didn't happen initially because I'm like, okay, now what? Now I feel like I have the green light. I moved forward in that vein. And for me, my writing process is when I get something, I stop or I'll try my best to write it down because I don't want to forget it. So I had several pieces that came to me, I had already that I incorporated in the book. And it's just very important for me to make sure that I got everything down because of my instructions from God along the way. So, did I answer your question? I have some more I want to share, but
Okay, if you have more that you want to share, this is your time.
okay.
Feel
Thank you.
free.
So the situations that took place in my life, it just is the intent for me to write this book was just very a matter of fact. I knew that I wanted to include um, the backdrop of what took place in my life from my family point of view, and also the things that took place in my life for me um, growing up. I didn't intend for it to be a memoir. I actually thought I was going to write it, from a fictional standpoint of view, that it was just going to be about some person with these situations and these scenarios. But what I wound up doing is waking up in the middle of the night, 3 o'clock in the morning. Y'all writers out there know what I'm talking about. You get, you got to write.
Yes.
The download is coming. So did my best to make sure I captured when I could. You know, going to work the next day, people saying you look, they're saying it, but not saying you don't look yourself today. You kind of look tore up. I tried my best to hide the bags in my eyes, but
But you were
I had to write. I
right.
was dedicated to get this done. And God said, now is the time. And so it's funny, I kept thinking I missed it, but I really actually didn't, because he was still developing with the experiences that I went and that I had and took place that needed to go in the book, and I had to capture. So I was okay and content along the way. The process started last year in May. So it was right at the year anniversary of me starting, putting all the pieces together and getting all the downloads. Very intentional. Came home and wrote, set a designated time, and hit the play button. My dear husband, I tried my best to cook and clean, but it didn't always work out that way. And so I say all to say, um, there's a lot of healing that had to go on in my life with my mother and my family in order
Yes.
for me to share some of the things that I shared in the book. It turned out to be a memoir, and I didn't intend for it to be poetry memoir or prose, but it turned out I couldn't set it down. Every time I wrote, a poem came out. So the book is unique in that style. It is a memoir,
Yeah,
but
I
it is.
think that's interesting that you wrote your memoir in the form of poetry. Most people would just want to write it straight out. Now, do you have any areas where you're just writing narration, or is it all poetry all the way through?
There are it's half prose, half poetry. It just turned out that way. Um, but prose is just very as a matter of fact, and it was just straight to the point. But it does have some rhyme scheme in it. Um, so it all turned out um, the way it needed to be. So the book is about 385 pages.
That's a long poetry book.
It's my memoir. It turned out to be that way, though.
I love it. I love it. So, what are
So
some of those notable moments in your life, for lack of a better term, that you wanted to touch on? What were the messages that you wanted your readers to receive?
thank you. So a lot of the themes that I noted out that I note from the book, or the takeaways, are forgiveness, healing, mental health, um, domestic violence. You can find love after domestic violence,
Mm,
um, self love, family, um, overcoming hardships, intergenerational trauma. So those are the basic themes, but I didn't leave the audience hanging where they read something and they just felt bad or dirty about it. I just didn't unload my stuff on you and let you there. Um, my editors often told me, they said, this is the first memoir that I've read that I've walked away feeling good about the stuff you told. I reveal things that are taboo that people often want to sweep under the rug. And so when I talk about things that happen with race in my life, I'm biracial. So I talk about some things that happen in my family. Um, I also talk about things that happened with me because of the trauma that happened. I had to go get healing, but there was a point in my life I recognized I needed to get healing. It didn't happen quickly, and I spiraled out of control. So I talked a lot about the timeline of my younger person. I just want to reach back and give her a big old hug, and I just want people to know things that are real. You may be experiencing these particular things, but there is healing on the other side. There is another side of all of this here, and you don't have to stay stuck in the situation that you're in, and you're going to be okay. And that's my encouragement and my word for
It's
that.
it's very timely that we're having this discussion because we just came out of Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which is observed during the month of April. Is that a hard time for you normally? Does it Does it bring back maybe some unwanted memories, or maybe even writing this book that bring back some memories?
I wrote the book initially talking about my mother's tale. Um, and she was 14 when she came to Texas. Um, and a Caucasian lady on her own. I talk about what happened in that sense. And then she met my dad and had Black children.
Mm,
Um, and so I did get triggered several times when I was writing the book. And the only thing that I could find myself in the space and place was just to remember the things that my therapist taught me to do.
right.
Um, and I journaled a lot and I prayed and travailed a lot. And I prayed for the audience and the people that would get a chance to read this. One of the men, I have a tutoring company, and one of the men that I talked to, I gave him some of it's part of my beta group. He said, "You have helped me. And I didn't experience what you experienced, but you helped me with an issue of forgiveness that I was holding on to."
Mm,
Um, and I didn't even know until I looked at your book. And so moments like that where I see myself, but I also know that when the reader takes a moment to read the book, if they are very reflective, they will be able to see themselves in it and find a mirror to be able to help themselves. Now, that was intentional. And so those were moments like this when I talked about the specific key things that happened. I wanted to tell the storyline as much as I could, but my goal was always to offer a door for people for hope and healing, and take them on a journey with me. And it's a big old metaphor. It's not about hair. Um, but life is curly and twisty like that, right?
no, there are going to be some people who pick up the book because they think you're going to be talking about your life accepting your natural hair.
Right. So it's kind of like, how many times are you gonna read the same line over and over until you figure out why I'm saying this line? Life curly twists and turns. So I thought it would be funny, but God gave me that download, so I can't really take credit for it.
I'm with
You know what
you.
I mean?
You mentioned that you would like to read a piece from the book. Are you ready to do that?
Sure.
Okay.
Um, I have a question for you because you know your audience better than I do. Um, I don't know if I should read a piece that would trigger you, make you laugh, or make you uh, happy. Laughter, happy, trigger. I'm not sure, but I have a couple of things in mind that I could share.
Um, I think we'll be fine. You read what's in your heart.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. So this is a piece that I just did recently at an event to share.
Okay.
And it is called Don't Make Me Cry.
Mm.
Blinded by the crystal waters of abusive eyes, realized I had to choose between myself and this transition in my life, toggling between the two spaces, too young to go into places. I was led under the guise of safety. The being I was is not the being I knew, becoming jaded. I was losing my innocence. Cut my hair. I didn't care. Then I blamed it on you. I knew what you did and did not do, but I cut my hair in spite. I blamed that on you. Should have been a clue that I was going through, looking for a way out of the abyss. Don't make me cry. I don't want to die. But each moment that passes me by made me think that I had to choose. Oh God, what was I choosing? I did not freely give you me. Your wretchedness, your anger, your torment, your inflicting pain, stealing my innocence away. Am I still innocent? Right? I'm still innocent, right? My hair wants to be on my head again. I need some new growth because I don't want to cry. I don't want to die. I don't want to lie. Don't make me cry. Even if crying means healing, what does one do with all the pain of it? It's that simple as rewriting the script in my mind. I am still innocent, right? And Mama Spirit, please sing me that spirit's lullaby tonight. Remind me of who I am. That voice is whispering at me again, and it wants me to die. Don't make me cry. I choose life.
Wow.
This piece that I'm going to say real quickly is the spirit's lullaby.
Okay, I'm gonna give you a chance to read that, but I'm just gonna tell you right now, I feel the emotion and I can see it. I can actually see the emotion as you're reading. So I can tell that you really put all into writing this.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I just wanted to say that.
Okay.
You're back the floor.
Thank you.
Mhm.
This is spirit's lullaby. Sleep tight, my baby, don't you worry. Your life is safe from harm and worry. Free from the cares of this world. You are already heard. Sleep tight, my child. You rest in my arms. I love you just the way you are. This life is not how life is supposed to be. But please don't rush in fear or worry. Sleep tight, my curly haired baby.
Oh, that was a quick one.
That was a quick one.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I can tell just by reading it, just by listening to you read it, the emotion that went into each word. How were you able to write this and just not be able to walk away, or did you have to walk away sometimes when you were writing this?
You called it. I had to walk away many times. But there's a scripture I share. I don't know how spiritual your audience is, but there's a scripture that God says, "Be still and know I'm God. Go into the secret place." And that's what I did. I just had to remove myself from myself, and I just had to go within and just know that God had me, and I just wanted to be an obedient person. His oracle to write what He said, and He gave me the words to share with you on these pages. And so, if I allowed myself to look at myself, and when I allowed myself to look at myself and my emotions and my feelings, those were moments that were hard and the toughest for me to do it. But again, I asked the question, have you ever felt like you had a mandate to do something or a deadline approaching? That's how a lot of this was approached as well, because I knew it had to be shared. And so when my mother and I had a conversation about healing and was it time and was it okay for me to share moments in here that I shared, she gave me the green light and I just went to town. And one thing she said, "Baby, you tell those people I'm not worried about what you say. God's got it. We're okay now. And these
Now,
people need to hear what you have to say."
you bring a very good point, because sometimes when people write their memoirs, they now have to bring some things to light that they may not have shared with their families and friends, the people closest to them. So, was that a decision process? I know you said you talked to your mom, but was it important for you to talk with her prior to her seeing this in print?
Definitely. There's a lot of secrets I share in here, but I don't reveal names. That was another thing. There maybe are 3 people that gave me permission to say their names, but for everyone else, I gave a different name to share. But it was important because I was telling her story. And that's the basis of my story. It's an intergenerational approach that I took. Her story really is mine because that took that took everything to shape me and to mold me, and she did the best she could. My mom is a strong, strong, strong woman, and I appreciate her. Yeah, but she made sure that we were solid in order for us to live. She helped us along the way, and she's amazing. She's amazing. So it was very important for me to share. I just didn't want to tell her secrets without a purpose. It was a purpose
Right.
for me doing this. I wanted to make sure that the audience knew and the readers know. Um, yes, you may have went through this. I didn't personally go through domestic violence in the sense that I was abused or beat up or had a partner, but I was a student or a child and that person that witnessed everything that took place. And so that's the aspect I write my memoir about. And I do share her story and how we turned out.
Mm. So, do you also describe your process for how you were able to overcome the feelings that you had, or was this a healing process as you were writing the book? Maybe you hadn't had the actual healing process until you started writing. How did that work for you?
So again, I'm a big advocate for mental health. So I did get counseling along the way. Um, it took a lot of therapy for me to be able to heal. I do a lot of journaling and writing. I do a lot of prayer and meditation every single day. And there are triggers that can happen from time to time, but when I'm you know, took time to make sure that I'm constantly identifying those. I to figure out how to handle myself, and there are breathing techniques that I do, and the things that the therapist gives you, I paid attention to. So when I was writing the book, I did go through additional healing, and I went through this process knowing I'm safe. So those are things that the therapist will tell you. You're safe. You're in a safe place. Everything is going to be all right. Um, and I knew I was okay, honestly, when I didn't cry.
That's a
When I
big.
didn't cry anymore,
That
I
is a.
knew I was better.
So, now the book is not even out yet. It's going to be released in July.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited.
What are you doing to work up to your actual release date, or do you have pre-sales?
I do. Promoting it on my IG. Um, I'm going to say I'm not the marketing specialist, so I'm a wife and an ordinary person on there. But I do share about my book and domestic violence, so I have a little some of everything on there. But I do have a website. Um, what I'm doing out here in the world is I'm working with several partners in the community, advocating for domestic violence abuse, and I'm telling my story and doing speaking engagements as well to support and advocate for help and self love and just the awareness of it of it all. There is a website that I have, and for the viewers out here today, I have a code that we can give you if for the book to be able to be purchased. I am working on a Kickstarter because the money and the funds that I have you will be getting a ticket, a signed copy for the book, and you will also get a virtual ticket or in-person event if you live in Katy, Texas, um, during my launch party as well, and some other freebies that I'll have.
Website in the chat so everybody can see it.
Sure. Let me get it real quickly.
Yeah, and then just paste it into the comments.
Okay. Share with me, y'all.
She's going to get the website so everybody can support this book because it is a very, very powerful piece of work. And just listening to the pieces that she read to us during the show, I could feel the emotion, and hopefully you were able to feel the emotion as well as she read it. So we are talking with author Julia James, and she has been talking about her upcoming book, which is actually poetic prose, so to speak. So you can, the name of the book is Diary of a Curly-Haired Woman. And she is back and she's about to share that link with us so we can make sure that we support this book.
Thank you. I'm also going to put in the chat for the first 20 people to help support. And with this, I have a discount, and I'll tell you why there's a discount in a second. So you'll get I put the code in the chat. I'm not going to say it out loud right now, but the first 20 people that can go, the book you'll get the discount of the book, and it's currently priced at $25. But as I said, I am working with domestic violence shelters and supporting children who have been hungry. And so the other thing I'd like to share is, because we went through what we went through. I was homeless for a very long time. There was instability in the family in my life, and so I value that. And when I see it in others, I want to support it. And so I am erecting a nonprofit organization that is not on paper yet, but I'm doing the things in the community to support the families. It is a victorious victory. And so what you're doing essentially, when you go to the website and you see that price that I have there, it is my Kickstarter to help support me with the purchasing. And you will be considered what I call a backer. You back me. You're saying, hey, Julia, I support what you're doing. I support the work. I support the effort. And you'll get some perks, and you'll be able to get exclusive information when things drop. I have workbook and a sequel coming up as well. More on that another time. But this one will get you the price of $25 if you put the code in today.
Okay, and the promo code, we just put it on the screen for anybody who happens to be looking for it. The promo code is curly hair.
And you will be getting the book before anybody else. Yes, ma'am.
But thank you so much for sharing your story, because it's not a very easy story to share. I wrote a fiction novel about sexual abuse for teenagers, and in the book, the character constantly blames herself and said, "I shouldn't have done this. I shouldn't have done that." But that person should not have put their hands on you. And I say person because there are women who sexually abuse people as well. And it's not just young girls or women who are sexually abused. Sometimes it's young boys as well. So that's why I say person. So I'm just glad that you shared your story, and I encourage more people who may have gone through sexual abuse. I know it's a painful thing to talk about, and it's a painful thing to remember. You don't want to walk down that road again. But if you don't share your story, there are going to be people who are going through the same thing and they think they're by themselves.
Right, right. I often say to everyone that I interact with, if we're talking about my book, I often say, I didn't write my book for myself. I wrote it for you. I didn't realize it, but I wrote it for you. I wrote it for the people that need it. You have to get your story out because you're not alone in this. And I often think that sometimes we go through things for other people as well.
Yes.
You know, so thank you so much. It was a privilege to be here.
It's a privilege to talk with you. I'm really glad we were able to make this happen. I know we were trying to get you on the show for a while, and I was like, oh man, that was way in May. But it's finally here. We were able to get you on the show. So I thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your story. If there's any way that we can continue to support you, please let us know.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll hold you to that.
I'm here.
All right. I know. You got me.
Before you leave, is there any way that, I know we shared the website, but is there any way that people are able to maybe keep in touch with you?
Sure. When you go to the website, make sure you please put your phone number and email address in there as well. And when you put your email address, I will make sure that I send you my newsletter. I'm asking for you to subscribe to that so that I can continue to give you updates and information about me, about my life. Also, in the chat, I'm going to put my Instagram, if I may.
Okay, no problem.
And then you can also DM me if you have any questions, you want someone to talk to, or any recommendations, or if you'd like to invite me out to speak. I am available to do that as well. And I do work with children as well.
Okay, wonderful. And I see this is your Instagram. I am sharing it in the public chat. So if anybody wants to connect with Julia, this is the way to do it.
Awesome.
So once again, thank you so much for being on the show. I really
Thank
enjoyed our
you.
conversation. I look forward to supporting the book, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Y'all be
you.
encouraged out there.
You too. Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too.
Okay, so that was author Julia James. And now we are about to bring on my soror. Well, let me go ahead and take that off real quick. Oh, that's Julia's IG. Now we're about to bring on my soror, Dr. mOe Anderson. Woo!
Yay!
How are you, ma'am?
Got some hand signals. I'm good, Sarah. It's so good to see you, beautiful. My goodness, look at you. I want to know about your anti-aging formula. Let me interview you.
We're not talking. You look the same as you looked. How long ago was it? 20 years ago we met?
Since we saw each other in person, it has been about that long, for real.
It is. It's
Thank
amazing
you.
how much
Thank you.
time flies, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes, it does. I'm just trying to not to fly with it and not go against it.
Well, I'll tell you this. There are probably some people who are wishing that their dentist looked like you.
Girl, when I was in clinical practice, I can't even tell you some of the stories. There are dentist groupies. I kid you not. I, I, I was not alone in the room with certain patients.
Oh
Girl,
wow!
don't even get me started. That's another show. It was, yeah,
Girl,
it's
that
pretty
might be
funny.
this show. That sounds good.
We need our own dental sitcom. I don't know why they've never had a sitcom for dentists because some of the craziest, funniest stuff happens. I am thrilled to be here, though. Thank you, Dr. Ron. This is really a pleasure and an honor. I'm just so proud of you and
Thank
everything you're
you.
doing. You're just all over the literary spectrum and doing it with excellence, as a good Zeta does.
Thank you so much. And I want to say the same about you. I know we had lost touch for a little while, and then all of a sudden, Dr. mOe popped back up, and she's doing TED Talks, and she's not just an author anymore. She's doing some things. And I was like, I have got to get Dr. mOe on the show so everybody can know what she's doing. So
I
you just
appreciate
came
that.
back with a vengeance.
I had a very severe health challenge, and I was still doing some writing and a little speaking at the time, but it just took me a while to get back on my feet. But I love everything about the letters of the alphabet, spoken,
Mm,
written, sung, however you can do it, and that's all I'm doing. If you look at everything, what it has in common is communication and people and enhancing relationships, and that's my mission.
Well, I want to. How did you decide that you wanted to start doing TED Talks? Because that's huge. It's not easy to get selected. It's not even the audition process isn't easy. So
Right.
yeah. So what made you decide this is something that you wanted to do?
Well, I have been a speaker and a writer like you for many years. I'll put mine out there over 3 decades. And, you have people tell you you're a good speaker. I felt like I was a good speaker. I get invited to national conferences. I've spoken overseas. I've been invited back. All signs that you're doing okay with it. But I noticed a couple of my friends who are in speaking circles had done TED Talks and TEDx Talks, and I've been a fan. I've been watching them when nobody knew what a TED Talk was. I
Right.
was watching them for years because it's amazing thoughts and amazing speakers. The TED is all about your big idea. What's your big idea that can change the world? And so I can't think of her name right now, but a friend suggested that I do one, and I thought, okay, that sounds like fun. And I had an idea. My talk, which was just uploaded in January, is what dentistry teaches us about curbing racism, where I
Yeah.
draw parallels between my career and my race. And I submitted it to several different talks across the country and couldn't get past the initial application because there's rounds and interviews and live interviews and things you have to fill out. So I got a coach, And ironically, she and I are right now doing a series on LinkedIn on the 4 Ps of effective public speaking, sharing
Wow.
what we've learned about it. The last one is tomorrow, as a matter of fact.
Is
So
this
if you're
something
not
that
busy at
anybody can
noon,
join?
hmm?
Is that something that anybody can join and listen in?
Anybody. Yeah, we're doing it on LinkedIn every Friday. This will be the fourth and final one at noon, but tomorrow is focused specifically on how to get a TED Talk, to get a TEDx talk. And she helped me. It was my application. Is that important that your application be written properly? You know, it's kind of like getting past the editors, that for those first readers when you send in your manuscript. And she just helped me tweak some things on there. And seriously, her name is M. Washington. I want to give her kudos. The next TEDx organization I submitted to was TEDx Oshkosh, and they were like, "This is a great idea," and they did an interview, and I got through that. And then you spend months. They assign a coach. You spend months working on the.
Oh, wow. So once you get selected, they actually assign you a coach to get you ready.
TEDx Oshkosh does, and there are some, just like everything else, they're locally organized. So there are some that are better. They've got the funds, they've got the team. I mean, when I was on that stage doing my TED Talks, I've got cameras all on the floor, all around me. Everybody had their own mic. They had a full team. Some of them are smaller groups, and they don't have those same resources.
Mhm.
But TED has very set standards and guidelines. So there might not be all the bells and whistles, but in terms of what you're bringing and what they will put, you can do a TED. A lot of people do TED and TEDx talks, and they never make it to the website if it doesn't meet their standards. I didn't know that either. I would have been terrified had I known that when I did it. But they
So
put
you
mine
can
up.
actually do the talk and still not make it to the website? Wow.
Yes, if you're just trying to sell stuff, because TED is not about me
Right.
pitching stuff. It's an idea that will that you hope can change the world. And yes, if you're violating they have a number of rules you have to follow, even marketing and promotion afterwards. But if you violate those, no, you do not. And you don't just find TED Talks anywhere. They have to go through TED, and they are on TED's site. So I'm on TEDx and the main TED site, which is a big honor because they don't put all TEDx talks on TED. So
Wow. So a couple of things I've noticed as I've watched TED Talks, and I did
Mhm.
watch yours. And if you don't mind, I do want to play a snippet of yours if you don't mind.
Oh, sure. Thank you.
But a couple of things I noticed is, one, you are not reading from a script. You are, or if you are reading from a script, there must be a teleprompter.
You can't. You
Okay,
cannot.
because you are doing your speech from the heart, from your mind.
TED Talks are memorized. They
Yes.
have to be memorized, 18 minutes. And I speak a lot, and I'm very familiar with my speeches, but I don't memorize speeches. So that was nerve-wracking for me.
Mm,
And you because you've seen it, you see the way I'm trying to braid and weave things together. So it's not my typical motivational, inspirational
right.
speaking where if I leave something out, it every point that I said needed to be there to build on the next point.
Now the other thing I noticed is often when I'll just say our people do speeches, sometimes we try to turn them into sermons where we're hooping and hollering and yelling. And I don't see that in TED Talks.
No. No, and some of the top speakers and most famous people in the world have done TED Talks. They're invited. They don't have to try like the rest of us. But no, there's none of that. It is a serious, it's more academic than
Yes.
anything, but it is a very serious talk. So no, you're not hooping and hollering and theatrical, which are things some people do naturally, say a Bishop Jakes, but a lot of people do to hide the fact that they don't have any content. So
I wasn't going to say that, but you're right. I mean, and I guess for me, that's always been frustrating because I've seen sometimes on the local level where people will win these pitch contests, or everybody will say, "Oh, that person was so memorable," and then when you peel back the onion, you're like, "But they didn't say anything.
they did,
They
girl.
they shouted, They got you
They,
excited.
they beat the table.
Yes. But they didn't say anything.
No, you don't get that. I mean, every part of TEDx, from your idea to your speech, to every part of it, we rewrote that thing so many times, and I'm used to kind of doing things on my own. So it was something getting all this feedback, but it made for such an amazing final product. It's
Yes.
quite one of the best experiences of my life. And that was a bucket list thing. But no, you got to be saying something. You don't even get to the point of them accepting your application if you don't really have a good, well thought out idea.
Mm.
You'd be good at doing one, I think.
Well, thank you. I would love to do a TEDx one day. I mean, of course it's going to be about writing because that's what I do. But
Mhm.
I loved how you were able to draw that parallel between being a dentist and racism. You did it so effortlessly. I almost missed it when you made that pivot because you did it so smoothly. So that's the part that I
Thank you.
want to show people. So if you don't mind, I'd like to maybe show that piece, just the very beginning of it.
Sure.
Okay.
Do I look scary to you? I hope not, but worldwide, 60% of people are afraid of me. Why? I'm a dentist. I know, right? What was I thinking at the age of 14 when I chose a profession that most people dread more than a zombie apocalypse? I love dentistry. For me, it is an exquisite combination of art, science, and helping people. It makes me feel ooey gooey inside. But that is not what most people feel when they hear the word dentist, is it? They feel fear, dread, terror. Why do people feel dental fear? Why do they have dental phobia? Well, there are a number of reasons. There's the obvious potential pain, loss of control, the economic impact, and distrust of strangers. And that's understandable, but we know toddlers come here insanely, comically fearless, right? They'll try anything. So this phobia must be inherited, passed down from generation to generation like a toxic heirloom. We also learn to be prejudiced. It is not natural. Ironically, those same reasons, potential pain, loss of control, the economic impact, and distrust of people who are not like us, apply to the 60% of us who do not have one close friend of another race. And
Well, we could go on and on, but it was starting to get good. But that was the part, that was that pivot. I was like, how did she do that so effortlessly? I mean, you did it like it was just a natural part of the conversation.
You know what, Rhonda? It was really a God thing. I didn't know what I was going to talk about. Some people find a TEDx talk that has a particular theme and they write to it, but I had this idea that just came to me. I didn't see it anywhere. My coaches said that no one has done that with a TEDx talk. No one has drawn that particular parallels. And there are a lot that are similar. There are some about dentistry, some about race, but no one's drawn the parallel between those two. But it came to me like that. They helped me make it so much better. But the way I really knew that it was ordered steps was that every time I would go to look for statistics, whether it was, Grand Rapids, Michigan about fluoride, whether it was the number of people who don't have a friend of the same race, or the number of people afraid of the dentist, the data, it just all lined up
Mhm.
around 60%. So I was like, this is just fantastic. I couldn't have planned it better. So I can't even say I planned it. It just I recorded what was given to me. And I think last time I looked, it was up to over 50,000 views, and it's just
I
been
think
out a
it was
couple of
about
months.
56,000 when I saw it. In fact, I'm gonna tell you right now.
And the comments have just been amazing. I was worried because we are in such a divisive culture, and even though I'm saying something very positive about both dentistry and what we can do about unconscious bias, people now, they just, oh my goodness, they don't even listen anymore. They just want to pounce on you when you
Right.
say anything
They
that
listen to respond or listen to debate instead of listening to understand.
right, right.
Yeah. Well, you have over 56,000 views on the TED. And I was that wasn't even YouTube. That was actually the TED website where you
Mhm.
have over 56,000 views right now, which is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I
Thank you.
look at the comments, just as you said, they were very supportive. Where many people said that they never viewed their dentist that way until they heard your TED talk. And I think that was a great way to be able to change people's minds, but do it in such a way where you're not coming down on people. You're not
Right.
blaming anybody. I mean, this wasn't about white versus black or black versus white. This was about prejudice in general. You could have been talking to anybody.
Right. Right. And we've got to stop thinking when we hear racism and prejudice that it is, as you just said, exclusively a black and white thing, just like they want to make, the March on Washington and civil rights movement be a black thing. That wasn't a black thing. Dr. King, so many people have benefited from civil rights
Right.
legislation. He did the Poor People's March. So you have to look at things a little more closely than just on the surface or taking away sound bites.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see usually there is a deeper message. But I talked about racism, sexism, xenophobia, transphobia. There's so many ways that we, try to look down on other people and not respect their values and culture. And I'm hoping that stops. I think there are more of us who don't feel that way than who do, but those of us who do value others and truly believe all men and women are created equal, we've got to speak up more often and more loudly.
Yeah, and just like I think one important point you make is that well, you make a lot of important points, but one specifically is that often um, the racism or prejudice or what have you, it stems from not knowing someone
Right.
of whatever it is that you are prejudging.
Mhm.
Maybe you don't know an African American person, or you don't know a white person, or you don't know a trans person, or what have you. And because you don't know them, you're kind of taking in stereotypes. So you're taking in what you're seeing in popular media, and it's shaping your opinion of that group of people.
Yeah. Yeah, really great point. What came to mind as you were saying that, I remember watching, and I love Sanford and Son. I remember watching that when I was a kid, and 227 and those programs, but they didn't reflect my life. And
Right.
so, my parents were educators. We were middle class. We didn't have everything, but we also weren't, you know, struggling daily for a meal. And so when, I hate what happened with Cosby, what he did, but the Cosby show was
Right.
a game changer, in
Good.
terms of, I remember my mom starting to put black art in the home. We didn't have black art in our black home, because it's hard to think about things you haven't seen, but that made all of
Mhm.
us all of a sudden, you know what? Oh, wow, I can have a variety of artists and art
Yes.
in my
Yes.
home. It doesn't
And
have to be
it
from
showed us
overseas.
it showed us that we didn't have to be the struggle story. And
Yes.
my daughter, I remember when she called me from college and she said she didn't feel black enough because
Mm,
some of her friends were saying that because she didn't have a struggle story or she was never pulled over by the police or what have you, that she wasn't really black. And there are a number of African American young people who don't go through that. Maybe they grew up in a middle class home or an upper middle class home. It doesn't take away the fact that they are still African American and that they still have their experiences.
and I submit that even outside of those socioeconomic challenges that some people may have in areas where there's not access to certain things, their food deserts and so forth. Me, even with my middle class upbringing, I was still followed through stores. I still had people still do dropping change on the counter because they don't want to, touch my hand.
Mm.
Getting pulled over in certain communities. So we need to stop doing that to each other,
Right.
because to the rest of the world, they could care less. Or
Mhm.
some, I shouldn't say everyone, but the first thing they see is my blackness, and they don't see anything else. They don't know my background, my 23andMe. They see a Black woman, and if you're inherently biased or inherited bias, as I see in the talk, then that is going to impact your attitude toward me. And things can be better, and I trust they will be. They've gotten better in many respects, but in many respects, I feel like we're back in the 17, 1800s sometimes,
Yeah.
seriously. Not
Yeah.
even the 60s. People are saying the 60s. I'm like, no, I was a kid in the 60s. This is worse. This is worse. Oh my goodness, I'm telling my age. I mean, I was a kid in the 70s. And
I can't. You are hilarious. Now we're talking a lot about your speaking career, but you
Mhm.
are still an author,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
you recently wrote a book about getting self-published.
I did, and I have it here for those who are watching this on video. I don't know if you do an audio podcast version as well. This is how I see you on your various platforms, but it's Launch Your Self-Publishing Journey. And it was written first. I should give credit to my co-author. This is the first time I've collaborated on a book as well. I'm really trying to embrace collaboration. It's so much less work. I wish I'd discovered this early, girl. I would not have been a lone wolf for as long as I was. But Dr. Masudi Stollard, who is our fraternity brother as well.
Okay. I didn't
And
know.
we both published. I've published traditionally, and my last few books have been self-published. And we get so many questions. I know you get them too, as an
Mhm.
author. Can you help me? Can you help me? Can you answer this question? Can you answer that question? They don't realize we're answering the same questions all the time. So I
Yeah.
was like, Sudi, Frat, we need to just put this down. And what really the big catalyst was that a family member published a book with a vanity publisher, and they didn't listen to me when I said, please don't go with them. They're going to
Yes.
upmark everything from your
Yeah.
LCCN to the copyright to please, if you're going to go that route, you can't get a traditional publisher or you don't want one, please just do it yourself. And they did not, and ended up spending tens of thousands of dollars.
You know what frustrates me is people like that who charge all of that money and rip these people off. It's so easy for them to find clients, but people
Yes.
who are trying to do it the right way, who really want to help you, they struggle. I'm
Yes.
like, why is it the people who are cheating people able to get so many people to trust them?
Because we like sparkly things in America.
Yes.
And these vanity publishers, they've got commercials on CNN. They're popping up all over social media because they're taking all that money that they're robbing, but they're not doing Robin Hood. They are marketing and bringing them in like lemmings and making them sound good. And they have a lot of bad reviews. I don't understand. I don't buy anything on even Amazon without looking at the
I'm looking at
reviews.
the reviews. I mean, I was looking at this cute top I wanted the other day on Amazon, and I was going to order it, but something said, "Look at the reviews." And I looked at the reviews like, "Oh no, I'm not going to get this.
Right.
This is not right." I mean, I'm looking at the pictures. No, this is not what I thought it was. So I wound up not getting it.
Hello.
These people have all of these bad reviews, and people who are always talking about how they spent all this money and they were not happy. I had a lady who come to me 2 days ago, and I went to a speaking engagement and
Mhm.
said that she trusted a certain publishing house to help her with her book, and she said it's not right. They told my daughter told me I need to get it published again. I really need to talk with you. But yet this same publishing house has been around since we started writing.
Yes. Yes, and there's one that's even changed names. It got so bad for them that they changed names, same company. But girl, I saw this process because of my family member. They call, I mean, it's like I- it's like a recruiter. They call them, they make all these promises, you're
Yeah.
gonna get this wonderful book, and oh, the typos. So in our book
Yeah.
that you can download and walk through yourself, and I also have a free checklist, a self-publishing checklist. You can do better with just my checklist than you can with some of these companies that really have no interest in you. I want to see more people published, becoming authorities in their industry,
Yeah.
standing out, having something in the back of the room if you're a speaker. And so we walk through the book interior, the exterior, beta readers. Your previous guest mentioned a beta reader. A lot of people won't know what a beta reader is. You can't just, let your friend, your mama, whoever read the book.
Especially in front of your mama, because they love you and they're going to tell you it was great, even if it wasn't great. And you need somebody who's going to give you frank feedback.
Exactly. We talk about designing the cover. We talk about the layout, even software to use to help you, write it, Grammarly, different features of Microsoft Word people might not be aware of. Walk through each part of it step by step. And I have two people to date who have told me that they literally used it as a guide, one in Atlanta and another one over in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And the sales have been great, but these are two who reached out to me personally to say, and gave me credit in the books for us, credit in the book for, the guide and how great it was and that it helped them. And it's the first thing I've written like that, but I like helping people. I like giving back. So that made me feel so good when one of them told me, because I didn't, you don't know what people do.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, I think that what you're doing is amazing. I tell people all the time that every business owner needs a book, and it's
Mhm.
just for exactly what you said. One, you don't have people picking your brain for free. You can say, I have a book that outlines all of that, and
Yes.
that book is only $5.99, $10.99,
Mhm.
whatever it is that you sell it for.
Right, right.
So that's the first part. The second part is the other thing that you said. If you're doing speaking engagements, you now have a book that you can sell after your speaking engagement. So even if the company who's invited you can't afford to pay you this big honorarium,
Right.
maybe they order 100 copies of your book or 200 copies of your book.
Which tends to be come from another budget. Because
Yeah,
I've learned to tap into that. When they can't pay you, they usually have another fund, I should say. They usually have another fund for that, and they can buy cases of books to give out to their staff. And yeah, it's great.
you're right. So this is why you need a book. So I am so glad that you mentioned this, and that I need to buy your book myself. Just make sure I'm doing everything right. Because I think that's the other piece of it. I think sometimes as authors, we feel like because we have a couple of books that we know it all,
Mhm.
and that we don't need to be reminded. And I think that books like yours are a great guide to help people remember the little things that they may not have thought about along the way.
Right. That's our hope. And we also talk a lot about marketing, how to use Amazon's author page. Not enough authors are taking advantage of that and the promotions that they offer. But a lot of times we're just so busy, we're swamped. There are very few of us. This is the only thing we do. So we don't just give you step by step. We even have, there's graphics in there, there's screenshots of exactly what you're going to see so that, you know, what to click, where to go, what to look at, and what it should look like when you're done.
Okay. Now you just put this link in the chat, which is a download.
I did. It's a download to the self-publishing guide, and I was doing it on my mobile phone, so I should have typed in there what it was. But anybody, it's a free self-publishing checklist, step by step. It's about 4 pages long. You don't have to put an email in. I'm not trying to capture your stuff. You're here for Dr. Rhonda. Give her your email. But I did want to share something with your folks, and this is just such a great platform that you have.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and thank you for sprinkling that knowledge, because there are, like you said, a lot of people who are just being led the wrong way. And for you to be able to provide a checklist and then say it's free. I'm not trying to capture your email address. I just want to help you. That's a beautiful thing. And there aren't a lot of people, I think, in the industry who's doing that. So I appreciate that. And it just shows what a finer woman you really are.
All right. All right. Thank you, Sarah. I like how you worked that in there. in the blue and white. I'm seeing it all. I love it. I love it. Yeah. You know, I'm sure you found this, Rhonda, that the more I have my hand open, the more I give it used to bother me because I wanted it back like I gave it from the person I gave it to. But I'm old enough now to realize that, blessings just keep flowing. You just have to be open and let it go through you. And what's for you is coming to you.
Amen.
And once I opened up and understood that, I still kept doing things, but it got rid of the attitude, oh, I helped her and she didn't tell me about that speaking engagement, or she didn't do this or that. If all of that is in your mind, you are giving with the wrong motivation. You did what you could, and whatever happens after that is really out of our hands.
Amen. Amen. Well, thank you once again for being on the show, for sharing your experience. Thank you. Congratulations on the books, on the TED Talks. Now, are your books from back in the day when we were on the grind with the Divine Literary Tour, are those still around?
Oh, yes, ma'am. They are all right there on my Amazon author page. I will drop those in the chat, and or I'll drop a link to this book and it'll lead you to all my other books, because it looks like I didn't do that. But if they go to my website as well.
Okay.
But yes, 8 books. I've got Success is a Side Effect, which we talked about before. When a Sister's Fed Up. This is my top sellers right here. When a Sister's Fed Up, and the sequel, Never Close Your Heart. Very good racy romance. I'm all over the place because I like variety too. I like to mix it up.
Keep mixing it up, girl. Keep mixing it up.
Thank you for asking.
All right. Well, thank you once again for being on the show. Thank you for sharing the benefit of your experience. And I wish you all the best. I hope to see you doing more TEDx talks and more TED Talks. And, just keep moving up because you have a very, very powerful story and a very powerful message to spread. And so I just thank you that you were able to spread a little bit of that with me tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Rhonda. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a great night.
You too.
All right. So we were just talking with Dr. mOe Anderson. She is the author of, show us the book one more time before you leave.
I put it in a pile. Here we go. What are they doing on the Voice?
Right. Yeah.
Launch your self-publishing journey.
Yes.
You can be a published author by the end of the year or the beginning of the new year. You got to commit and be consistent, like Dr. Rhonda.
All right. Thanks again, Dr. mOe. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And thank all of you for joining us tonight. I hope that you were able to grab something from this. I told you it was going to be a good show. There was going to be some really, really good information on here. So I hope that you wrote it down. You took note of the websites and the links that we put into the chats. You will be able to watch the replay of the show, and the links will still be available. So make sure that you copy and paste the links. If you are listening to the podcast, we'll make sure to put all of the links in the description so you'll be able to find them. So thank you all once again for being a part of the Horizons Author Lounge. We will be back next week with 2 new guests, and we still have the comedians coming. So that's going to be a whole different level, and we'll just be ready to laugh. All right. Well, y'all have a wonderful evening. God bless you. Thank you so much for your support, and I will see you next week.